Welcome to this episode of What John is Thinking About. Today we're going to make some lasagna. We already got some water boiling. It's about 2/3 full. We got it on high heat. We're going to brown some hamburger. We are using great value lasagna. Save money. She's chopping some onions in half. Make sure you have a good sharp blade. Clean the counter. Do we have a particular recipe we are using?
Just a easy lasagna recipe that I found.
We're going to post that recipe at the end and at the beginning. And she's slicing them up again. What do you call that? Dicing?
I'm chopping, dicing onions.
Always remember to keep your fingers back. A lot of people get cut. You want to watch your fingers at all times. They should sharp blade.
Sorry, making my eyes burn.
Onions will make your eyes burn. Some people say you can put them in the fridge and it won't do it, but I find out nothing helps. Do is cut a little, step it back, come back, cut a little more, step back. So leave some time for this. So she's cutting up some more.
So the recipe calls for 1 medium onion, and I just had small ones, so I'm using 2 small onions.
Okay, 2 small onions can equal 1 medium.
Well, thereabouts, yeah.
Just about. Okay.
Oh, goodness. This one was a little bit bigger, so I'll probably just use half of it.
Basically, 1 small one and a half is what a medium is. Basically.
Whew. Excuse me a moment. So the recipe calls in a large pan to put olive oil, which it calls for about a tablespoon of olive oil, which has about a tablespoon.
You should measure these out, people.
Chopped onion.
Unless you're really good cook.
And
next time I'll make her measure it out.
some minced garlic.
Really?
Yeah, it calls for 3 cloves of minced garlic.
3 cloves?
3 cloves, but I don't mince garlic. I already buy it minced. So about a teaspoon is a whole clove of...
That's a whole...
Of minced, yeah, well, not quite that much, but that's about a whole clove there. So it's calling for 3 of those.
How come you don't buy minced whole garlic?
Because I'm lazy.
It's just easier?
Easier. And this, it says to saute this, and then we have to put our, it calls...
Saute basically means to simmer.
Well, saute, you have to soften the onions. Okay. And then it says to add the 2 pounds of ground beef, but I'm going to use 1 pound of ground beef and 1 pound of Italian seasoning. So I'm going to saute this, and then I'm going to add into it, once this is sauteing a little bit, the ground beef and the Italian sausage.
Italian sausage.
Did I say seasoning before? Yeah. I meant Italian sausage.
Can you ground them up in there with that cooking?
You want these to cook a little bit first, because this...
I know, but do you ground them? Do you put the hamburger in there raw and ground it up in there with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Once this is cooked a little bit, then I'll add the hamburger and the sausage into this.
Okay.
And then cook all that until it's done.
Awesome.
Okay. This is the ground Italian sausage that we got. It's already seasoned with Italian seasonings, and I always get the mild. And then just a pound of ground beef. We butcher our own beef, so this is a 1 pound roll.
I always like mild because you never know how people like taste, and hot is not very good for some people. And you don't want to feel aftermath either.
Yeah. So I have tried the oven ready lasagna noodles and the regular oven noodles that you have to boil first, and I like the ones that you have to boil better than the oven ready ones.
I didn't know there was a difference.
There is a difference. The oven ready ones means when the noodle comes out of the box like this, you can just put this down instead of cooking it. And once you get the juices from your sauce and everything in it, it will help cook the noodle. That's oven ready ones.
Oh, okay.
These you have to boil. So once my water gets to boiling, I'm going to boil this whole box of lasagna noodles.
There are about 15 in there?
There's 18. The recipe calls for about 15, but I'm just going to go ahead and do the whole box.
Might as well, just in case something happens.
And so I put water on to boil, and I salted it. Just put a little bit of salt in it. And then once the water starts boiling, I'll add the noodles, and they're supposed to cook for about 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
So my skillet is not big enough to hold the meat and the sauce. So I'm going to put the sauce in here and then transfer the meat into this, because you have to cook it for about 20 to 25 minutes. So while it's still cooking, I'm going to put my sauce ingredients in here. And
what size pan is that?
I don't know, it's a quart pan. I don't know how many quarts, but it's a big stock pan. So the recipe calls for 2 15-ounce cans of tomato sauce. I just bought one 29-ounce can of tomato sauce, so I'm 1 ounce short. It'll be all right. And then it calls for 1 12-ounce can of tomato paste. And it calls for 1 15-ounce can of water. And it's, so if I would have bought 2 15-ounce cans of sauce, I could have just filled a can up with water and dumped it in. But what I'll do is I'll fill this about half up and dump it in. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this in here.
Careful with the lids, they're sharp.
And then I'm going to fill it about halfway with water. Cold water, not hot water.
Cold water. Because hot water will start the cooking process, right?
Yep. And then I'm going to add this can of tomato paste. Need a little spatula. Hang on.
You're stirring the hamburger up, checking on it. So far, that's what it looks like with tomato sauce and water.
Sorry.
I don't know why they add water to sauce.
The water is to help this paste. You got to thin out the paste.
Ain't that what the sauce would do?
Not as well.
Oh, not that well. So wouldn't it be better to add more sauce instead of paste? It doesn't work that way.
Nope.
Like I said, if you're not an excellent cook, And she's a pretty good cook, so if you're not sure, just go ahead and get the exact ounces of stuff, or if not, get a measuring bowl or measuring cup and measure out the exact ounces to make sure you get enough exactly on recipes, because you don't want to overdo it and underdo it, especially if you're beginning cooking like we're supposed to be here. We don't want to overdo it and underdo it, because you see people have the same recipes and different people can make it, and you'll be like, why does that come out great? And others are like, mine turned out all right. It's because it's the cook. Sometimes they add a little something, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it just goes great.
All right, so I'm stirring and mixing the tomato paste in.
Okay.
So basically what we're doing is we're making spaghetti sauce.
Okay.
We're making our own spaghetti sauce.
Is that a silicone spatula?
Yeah.
Or what is it called? What is that thing called?
I call it a spatula.
I like silicone, so it doesn't crash the pot like a spoon. You could use a spoon or a wood spoon. There's nothing wrong with wood spoons. I like the
Okay.
silicone because it's easy to clean.
Now, it also calls for a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of basil, and a teaspoon of salt and pepper. So, I don't have oregano and basil, but I have Italian seasoning, which contains oregano and basil, but it also contains rosemary, thyme, sage, parsley, and marjoram. So I'm going to use Italian seasoning instead. I get these in bulk at the Dutch Bakery. It's a local place here near us. And it says a teaspoon, so I'd have to have 2 teaspoons. And
measure it out, please.
Well, you know me, I don't measure.
I know, but for my viewers, they need to be measured. So I'm teaching how to measure.
Right. That's
Good.
That's a teaspoon.
Okay.
So I'm going to use 2.
A good cook always measures.
And then I need salt.
Unless you're my father-in-law or my wife. But that's years of experience, so unless you've got years of experience and people say, oh, your stuff is awesome and just not being nice, that's when you can stop not measuring. I like things measured out. Are we mixing this?
Yeah, just a second. I need it. And a teaspoon of salt.
I wonder why the light came on.
Probably because there's not enough lighting. And a teaspoon of pepper.
Thank you for measuring those for us.
Yeah. And then
She's doing it for you viewers. She's being nice to us.
I'm going to stir this in.
While she's stirring that, what do you think, Lily dog? Tell us what you think, Lily. That's my dog, Lily. From Pride and Joy. He is a beagle. Has a nose that just won't quit.
Alright. That's pretty much stirred up there.
Now, tidbit. Where we're from, if you take those cans and you rinse out the water and you pull off the label, you can recycle them. But now, if you want to take them down to the recycler and get money for them, what we do is we just rinse them out, throw them in our recycle trash can, and then they take them up there and then they do it and do it and take care of it. So
Okay.
all right, now back to this.
Okay, so because we have our own beef butchered, our beef is very, very lean. So that's why I like to put a pound of ground beef or of sausage in with my hamburger instead of just doing 2 pounds of hamburger. It gives it a little bit more flavor also. But as you can see, the only grease that's coming out of this is the grease from the sausage. So I am going to drain this a little bit because I don't want all this grease in our sauce. But I'm going to drain this, and then we will put it in this pot, and then we will let this simmer for about 20 minutes.
That looks good.
Okay.
If you go back to our video of us grounding hamburger, you will realize how beef did when we ground it and how little grease it had. So that will show you a little of it. It's just going to drain it. So basically you take a colon area and you're draining it like that. Try to stay out of our way. And flip it. I had knee surgery, so I can't walk around very much. Get that grease out. You always put a bowl underneath. And you start running some hot water to get it through your sink. You don't want to clog up your sink. Make sure you run plenty of hot water through it, or you could just leave it in the bowl, wait, and put it to the side. So,
Ooh, that pan's gonna be hot.
remember, any countertop, put down a lid or something to protect your countertop. Shake that a little. Culinary. They call those strainers, don't they?
Colanders.
Colanders. Thank you.
Put that in there.
I'm very good at names. She's really good at stuff.
I'm gonna stir this up a little bit, and then we're gonna put this on the stove and let it simmer for.
How high are you gonna cook this?
I'm gonna simmer it, so probably a low medium heat.
So what
'Cause
number
I don't-
would that be, like a 2 or 3?
So on our stove, it's like a 3.
Okay. So if you have a number stove, it'd be like a 3. You just have kind of.
Our stove goes from high, and then that's like a 10. So ours goes, and low is 1. So we have like 10 different settings. So I'm gonna put this on. So now I'm going to put this lasagna together. So, oh, excuse me. I'm going to lightly spray my lasagna pan with some non-stick spray. Any kind will work. And then you put a spoonful of meat mixture in. Looks like I might need a little bit more. And just kind of smooth it around in the bottom of it.
You cover it.
You just kind of smooth it. You don't have to have a lot in there. And then you're gonna lay your noodles down. Now, I did not drain my noodles yet. Whew. So these are going to be a little warm, but you're going to lay your noodles in your pan. And it's all right if they overlap each other.
Hold on a second. Just keep doing. Okay. We got one layer down.
Okay. Then it says to use either cottage cheese or ricotta. I prefer ricotta cheese. So you're going to just put a layer of ricotta down and kind of just spread it out on the noodles.
What's the difference between the two?
I
don't know.
I don't know. I know there's a difference. Different types of cheeses. Some people prefer ricotta. Some people prefer cottage. Some people don't like cottage cheese.
I like ricotta over cottage cheese. I can't stand cottage cheese. But ricotta's pretty good. I don't know what the difference is.
Ricotta's kind of hard to spread. I kind of get my fingers in there and get it spread out a little.
repeat this process?
Well, not yet. I'm not done with this step. All right. Sorry, my nose. And then we're going to put some Parmesan cheese on top of this. I'm just going to sprinkle some on, and then we're going to put on some mozzarella cheese.
Sprinkle it all over.
Yep.
Just basically covering it.
Yep. And then we're going to put some more meat on top of that and repeat the process. Now this meat mixture, this layer of meat, you could put more on than you did at the initial bottom, because the bottom you just didn't want the noodles to stick to the bottom of your pan. So, okay, and then you're gonna put your noodles in again.
Was that a 9 by 13 pan?
About a 9 by 13, yes.
Well, be careful, steam. Steam will get you.
Yes, your noodles are going to be very hot. And then you're going to repeat your cottage or ricotta cheese layer. Spread it out.
Almost done putting most of it on. Sometimes they put them on the meat, but because they don't rub no matter what order. Would it help if it was room temperature?
The cheese?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. I may wash my hands.
She did Parmesan cheese. Now she's doing the regular cheese, the ricotta cheese. And the meat.
Another layer of meat.
Pan's getting full. Funny thing about mixing with the onions is the rest of the time you're cooking, it seems like you always have a runny nose. It seems like they want to make your allergy drain.
All right, I'm gonna put another layer of noodles, this last layer of noodles, but
Careful, steam.
What I'm going to do, instead of putting all that cheese, is
You're just gonna add sauce.
I'm going to just add the sauce on top, because we've got plenty of cheese in the middle. So I'm going to add this rest of this sauce on top.
I think you ought to add the mozzarella on top, give it the cheesy top. But you're the cook.
Well, that's what I was going to do. You just didn't give me time to do it. I'm going to add
Ooh, Parmesan too.
some Parmesan. Break up my big balls of Parmesan. Add some more Parmesan to it. And then I'm going to add some more mozzarella on top. All right, wash my hand again.
Same mozzarella we use. One bag, 4 cups. You preheated the oven to what, 350?
350.
For how long?
I'm going to cover this with foil. And we're going to cook it for about an hour. Covered.
Okay. We'll check in about an hour. When there was 10 minutes left in the oven, we took off the aluminum foil and let it basically bake on top. Then after the oven went off, we let it sit, took it out and let it rest on top of the oven and let it sit there and rest for 10 minutes, and this is what it looks like.
Sit down.
Go down, Mary. Looks good.
This should be about where the noodles are.
Why is it making that noise?
Because I'm touching the bottom.
Oh.
Alright.
Always like the corner piece.
Moment of truth.
It looks good.
Oops.
Looks really good. Take a bite real quick. You're gonna see how it tastes. Smells good. But you don't smell the vision. See the flavors and the onions cooked in it and the sauce. Just think you put that together. Careful, it's gonna be hot.
Tastes pretty good too.
Very good. Had some garlic bread, it'd be awesome. Well, thank you for watching what we're thinking about. Hope you enjoyed this recipe and tune in next time. See what we're cooking and see what we're thinking about. Enjoy and have a good evening. And remember, you can cook this too.